and welcome to Camera Review. Today we are looking at Fujifilm's 16mm f1.4 lens. Now this lens is a very beautiful wide-angle lens and it has been around for quite some time. This lens features some of the best things that the Fujifilm lenses have, and that is a high quality build, and it's a design that is going to deliver very sharp images. Now first of all, let's talk about what this lens is designed for and is attributes that is going to reveal the best aspects of photographing, for example, landscape or architecture, or even using it for portraiture. If we start with the 9-blade aperture, what you'll find is that it provides a very beautiful roundish bokeh. If you love that painterly look where the colors beautifully blend together in the background when you shoot something at close distance and you see this beautiful rendition of colors, this is the type of lens that will give you those results. Of course, there are limitations to this, so you have to understand that the subject needs to be close to the lens to throw the background in a beautiful out of focus manner. Of course, this lens is very fast. At f1.4, it will perform beautifully under low light circumstances as well as nighttime. What is nice though is the fact that because it has such a wide aperture, it is going to throw the background out into beautiful rendition of colors and tones that is going to make it shine. If you place the subject close enough to the lens, you'll find that the background beautifully falls out of focus. Of course, this is understanding the way that this lens works. This being a wide-angle lens would mean that if an object is closer to the lens, it will cause the lens to distort the part that is closer to the lens. So if somebody is extending their arms, you'll find their arms are extra elongated. Or if they are somewhere in a distance where their faces are too close to the camera, you'll find there are some form of distortion. But at a certain distance, like 2 to 3 meters or 6 to 8 feet, well, you'll find that it provides a beautiful three-quarter shots or a full body shot. And that means that you got to use this lens very creatively. If you have the subject at 4 feet or about a meter or so, you can get beautiful close-up photographs without having too much distortion, as long as the person stays in a relatively flat plane. What that will give you though is the background falling out of focus. And you will see with some of the images that we have in this review that these are the cases where you're going to find this beautiful out of focus background with the combination of a well-rendered image where the person's face is in clear view and sharp details and micro contrast is easily noticeable. If you examine this lens, you will also find that it has a very complex structure with 13 elements in 11 groups. So what that is doing is that it's providing you a very little distortion for a wide-angle lens. Also, it's cutting down on chromatic aberration, distortion, and also things like ghosting are pretty much avoided. Of course, there are limitations to how much a lens can be improved, but as far as a wide-angle lens is concerned, this gives you a great point of view. Now, 16mm equivalent of this lens is about 24mm in 35mm format. So what that means is it is not a super wide, but it is a beautiful wide-angle lens that is not going to distort too much, yet give you a beautiful renditioning of images for portraiture as well as landscape. And for those applications where you want to capture a versatile situation where you may be, for example, photographing a scenic place, or you're traveling and you want to capture the neighborhood of the places that you are seeing, then this lens gives you all that reportage possibilities. That means you're going to do photo documentaries, you're going to be able to get street photography, you're going to be able to use it in all kinds of scenarios. But when it comes to using it, for example, for portraiture, this is also an option. Of course, this lens also has many other capabilities. It is a versatile lens for many different applications. You can use this lens, for example, houses, in-store spaces, because it is going to allow just enough space in the shot to capture the interior space without having to be too wide where it's going to store things. So it is a happy medium, and it's the kind of lens that I would recommend to first time users who want to get into wide angle photography yet want a lens that's not going to distort too much and allow the lens to perform at its best. So it is, for this reason, it is a well-designed lens. Of course, it comes at around 375 grams, so that means it's going to weigh in about 13.2 ounces. So as comparative lenses that are in the Fuji's lineup, this lens is relatively equal to other lenses that are in that range. So between 375 to 420 grams, that is what we're looking for. And this lens, with all the elements in it, is still relatively small and compact compared to larger lenses that you may find in, for example, full frame lineups. So it is the compactness and it's the ability to carry this lens all day long will give you the ability to use it in various scenarios. One of the best features about this lens is its close focusing distance. At 15 centimeters or 5.9 inches, you're going to be able to get a very close shot. So if you, for example, want to do a creative photograph of flowers, or if you want to take a photograph of food or things that are in vicinity and throw the background into this beautiful bouquet, this is the kind of lens that will give you those options. So for lenses that are versatile, this ranks as one of the best lenses in the market. Also, it does have weather sealing, which stands for the WR in the lens's name. Weather resistance means that you can use it in a variety of challenging circumstances, like if there is rain, snow, or dust or sand, that is not going to affect the performance of this lens. And also the fact that this lens is designed in a way that is compact means that the moving parts within the lens are going to be protected, and the electronic systems that operate the lens is in conjunction with the camera. That means that you're not going to have issues with mechanical failures because of the way that this lens is designed. Of course, there are other elements that are designed into this lens that is going to make it a better performer than average lenses that are out there. One of the main issues that we always have with wide-angle lenses is ghosting, and that ghosting is controlled with nano GI coating and EBC coatings that are applied onto the lens surfaces. So that creates a kind of a layer that allows the lens to perform in a way that avoids those ghosting and chromatic aberrations. And for that, I think this lens is a better design than lenses that are generally designed for wide-angle lenses, and this is one of the premium lenses which comes in about $1,000. So of course I provided links down below where you can find this lens a lot cheaper in great quality, and also I provided links to used lenses. Of course, there's in-depth article about this lens in our website that you can find and read, and I provided that link down below as well. So I invite you to check that out. Of course, before I share more photographs with you, I want to talk a little bit more about how this lens is going to do. First of all, you're going to find that this lens has to be positioned right to take photographs. A lot of people change the perspective of the lens by pointing it down or up, where distortions can happen with the way that you photograph. So in order to avoid those distortions, remember to point the lens in a straight horizontal way or be in the same level as the subject, so that you are going to avoid those distortions. For example, if you're taking somebody's photograph from down below, it will make the person look way too tall. Or if you take somebody's photograph from way on top, it's going to make that person look shorter than that person is. So in order to avoid these distortions and to use this lens at its best capabilities, I recommend that you use it in a horizontal plane in line with the subject. Also, what you will find is that this lens is a great performer at f1.4, and you are going to be able to use it in low light circumstances as well as nighttime, and that means you're going to be able to keep your ISO levels low. That being said, you have to also remember this lens performs exceptionally well when it's dialed down to f5.6 or f8. That means you're going to get the optimum sharpness, especially if you're doing landscape photography. And if the day is good and you want to take this lens out, you're going to be able to get incredibly sharp images with beautiful details and corner-to-corner sharpness at f8. And that is how I would use this lens if I'm doing architecture or landscape. For all other applications where I want to create a unique perspective, using this lens wide open f1.4 provides incredibly unique images. So I hope this has been kind of informative. I'm going to leave you with some of those images that you can look, and of course I invite you to visit our review site and see those images in detail. Of course, you can read our detailed analysis of this lens and how it can be used on field. So without further ado, here are the images.